Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics in Chester. I'm Joe Biedrzycki, filling in this year for Carl Knudsen, who developed this program and has written all of the questions. Joe Castricone is our producer. And I'm talking today with Ron McKinnon. Ron has been involved in the town previously, but is running for a select board position for the first time. So, Ron, welcome, and thanks for making this time available to us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
For starters, since we are just meeting, and you're just meeting most of the viewers, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I grew up in Salisbury, Mass., adjacent to the longest continuous running family farm in the United States. We had cows, horses, pigs, chickens, all that sort of stuff. And it's the type of environment I like and the type of environment Chester has. I've worked for a national company, then a regional company. I went to work for myself for 9 years. After that, I sold the company, took a job with a startup, which got bought by a larger company, and in the end, I was working for an international company, and luckily, about a year and a half ago, I was able to put an end to 40 years in technology and no longer have to attend work.
So you've seen the whole spectrum of running companies.
I have.
Running a town is a little bit different. How long have you actually lived in Chester?
I have lived in Chester since 2019.
And when did you decide to run for a seat on the select board?
Within the past couple of months. Excuse me. I've been on the budget committee in town for the past 6 years, and my term expires this year. So they asked if I was going to run again, and I said that I didn't think I was going to. It seems like we're just running in circles and banging our head against the wall.
Why are you making the switch?
Because there seems to be a disconnect between what the budget committee is presenting and requesting and what is actually taking place. A lot of our requests and suggestions seem to, die on the cutting room floor would be an appropriate response considering where we're sitting.
Yeah, that happens here too.
So after a lot of consideration, I decided that the budget committee said that I should run for select board because the budget they get, it's a bottom line budget. So we've suggested, or multiple years in a row, to not cut police, fire, or highways, as those are high valued items to the town, and they are less than 50% of the total town budget. But they're the first thing they go to when cuts need to be made.
Well, it's nice that you have the support of people who you know and who you have already worked with, because you will continue to work with them a little more indirectly if you are elected to the select board. Why do you think you're such a good candidate?
I have fair to good people skills. Depends on who you ask. If someone gets loud, I tend to get loud back, which I'm trying to work on because it's not my strong suit there. But I know a lot of the people in a lot of the town's departments working through the school budget. I know the budget committee people, the fire chief, the police chief, the various officials in town. I already have a rapport. I understand how the budget works. I would ask to be the liaison between the budget committee because I've had a 6-year working relationship with them. And I would also be a strong voice for the budget committee's recommendations on the select board. I'm not afraid to voice my opinion or stand my ground if I think it's the right thing to do.
So you've got connections, as they say in the big city.
Oh, yeah.
How would that be a benefit?
I think the town as a whole does a great job planning for big ticket items, boilers at the school, police cars, roofs that are coming up, but they're not looking, in my opinion, at the day-to-day items and planning beyond the fiscal year for the day-to-day operations of the town. And I think they need to plan farther ahead. Ran into a head wall this year where to meet the number and not having planned for the day-to-day operations over the years, that to make the number, they had to reduce people.
Now, I've gotten to know a couple of the folks who are on the select board, and I know that they put a lot of their time into the effort. It's a lot more than just showing up to their Thursday night meetings. How much time do you think you'll need to devote to this position?
I figure a good 20 hours a week. I've spoken to friends that are select members in other towns and ask what they put in. I have a fair understanding of what they do from a high-level viewpoint, not necessarily the specific details, but where I no longer have to do the 9 to 5 anymore. I have the time and ability to put it in.
The New Hampshire Municipal Association, I think, does some training for folks who are new to town positions. Is that something that you would be getting involved in, the training seminars? And
I would absolutely go to any training that was offered.
how do you think that would benefit you?
You'd learn much more of the minutiae and the fine points of the things that you'd need to be working through and working with.
Those infamous RSAs we were talking about.
Yes. The rules and regulations that govern the town, the various departments, the select board, the budget committee, all the descriptions of what's entailed in each person's role and what they can and cannot do.
So you've mentioned the people in town that you do already know. How would you build relationships and trust with town employees, folks that work that you haven't met yet?
I'm also the vice president at a local gun club. I just became vice president. I've been on the board of directors there for years. And I've told the members, if there's something you don't like, please bring it to my attention, because if I don't know that there is something going wrong, I'm going to assume that it's going right, because if nobody tells you this is broken, you don't know. You can't know everything about everything.
Right.
I'm not afraid to ask questions or say I don't know.
Now, the various members of the select board also work as liaisons to a lot of the departments and committees in town. What do you think your responsibility would be in that department? You already mentioned
the budget committee,
hopefully working
absolutely.
with the budget committee.
Fire department, police department, I have a working relationship with some of the local law departments in northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire. Being at the gun club, they will come and use our range for and grounds for training, for qualifying and things like that. Highway department, I think some of the internal workings of town hall could be refined. Some of it seems to be working more as individual silos than actual gears in a machine.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you've just recently, within the last year, retired. And with all of that professional experience behind you, what does that give you in the terms of your toolbox and what you could bring to the select board?
I've managed people and budgets. I tend to get along well with people. As a whole, they tend to like me, unless they cross me, and I make a better friend than an enemy.
That does make things a lot easier.
It does.
Do you think there are any pressing needs or big challenges that face the town right now? And what would your proposed solution be to whatever you think needs to be addressed?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the inner workings of town hall could be refined. For example, I know that the rec director has to go off hours to open facilities and stay there while, I don't say basketball, I don't remember specific events, and then lock it up and leave. I don't see why we couldn't write up a contract where the organization that's using the school basketball court can't have someone appointed to represent the organization at, the individual meetings. And our local law enforcement, who is already out and driving around the town, could go and open the doors, go back and lock them up, and the person signed the form that says, I'm responsible. I just think there's efficiencies that would save the town money that are being overlooked at the lower level. I think we do a great job at the big ticket items.
It's an interesting concept. I think Corinna would definitely be in favor of it. Are there any things that don't exist in town that you'd like to see happen? What positive initiative would you like to initiate?
That's a good question. I'd like to see some of the people that are using Stevens Hall pay. We have a church organization that meets there twice a week, every week of the year, and a dance studio that gives dance instructions there. And we don't charge anything, and it's an awful lot to maintain that building. I also recently talked to the fire chief, and there's a cistern in the basement of that building that holds 2,000 to 3,000 gallons of water. There's no top on it, and he's never going to use it. I would think the building seems to need a lot of repair, and paint doesn't stay. The water just sitting there in the basement, 3,000 gallons of water, I don't think is doing any justice to the building. It might be a project worth looking in, capping whatever fills that cistern so it doesn't fill, draining it and either leaving it empty and keeping it empty, or taking it out and reusing the space.
Interesting idea. Now, you talked about the budget committee. Budgeting is obviously a big part of running a town like Chester. And although there is a budget committee and there is a finance director, it seems like the select board are really the bean counters. They have to know where everything comes from and where everything goes. How do you think the board would interact with other boards in town in that respect?
I think there needs to be more interaction and more accountability. Last year, for example, they thought they were going to come up short, and it's my favorite example because it just seems insane to me. They asked the police department to stop buying bullets for training, which are one of the 3 departments we asked them not to touch. And I think proficiency with a firearm when you're a police officer is a vital skill to their life and the life of any citizen who they may need to come and protect or assist. And then at the end, they had $300,000 left over, so that there was no need. They're not, in my opinion, and I don't know the specifics, but they're not following closely along with where things follow on a weekly, monthly basis, as far as I can tell.
Isn't one of the components of budgeting for the town the CIP?
It is.
Capital Improvement Program?
It is.
What do you know about how that works?
I know the capital improvement program right now is sitting on about $2.5 million, of which they'll be using some this year to purchase some apparatus for the highway department, should the citizenry decide that that's an appropriate use of the money. They have long-term plans and things they purchase, a 10-year plan that I don't know necessarily, the way it's written, I don't know necessarily correlates well with the way people vote. I'm not exactly sure how they come up with it or where the information comes from, but I know solar is on there, and solar has been voted down in this town every time it comes up.
Right.
So there's a disconnect there somewhere.
Is that something you'd be a proponent of?
I would like to at least look at it. I've asked to be on the wage matrix committee because that has come up a lot, and we've been told for the past 2 years that this needs to be addressed, and we're going to form a committee and reevaluate this. First time it was mentioned, I said I'd love to be on the committee. Every time it's been mentioned, I said I'd love to be on the committee. It's been 2 years. I've never received a phone call.
A lot of people think that little towns like Chester are the Wild Wild West in New Hampshire, and that the select boards are the sheriffs. You are, in fact, subject to the New Hampshire Revised Statutes annotated, the RSAs.
That's the word we were looking for.
That's the word we were looking for. How much do you know about those, and is that something that you think training would help you to get a better grasp of?
Yeah, training would definitely help in that aspect. I don't know a lot about the RSAs. I've looked at a few.
There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. I'm sure there are. Government likes to have big books. But yeah, I would absolutely go to training for that, and I would say that would be one of my shortcomings, know the specifics on all of the information pertaining to all of the RSAs for the various.
How comfortable would you be working with other people's money, the taxpayers' money?
I went to school for economics. I understand budgeting. I'm frugal, I guess you can say. If I can do something, I will do it rather than pay someone to do it for me. And that's what I'm running for. I moved to this town because it reminded me a lot of the area I grew up in. And in the time that I've been here, my taxes have almost doubled. I'm no longer working, so there's, a large amount of money that was disposable income that's no longer accessible. And I want to keep it affordable for the people that live here. The people that have spent their life here and generations here shouldn't have to move. I spoke to a friend within the past few weeks whose family's been here for 7 generations, and his big concern is that his children won't be able to afford to live in Chester. And to me, that's a big deal.
How do you get people like that, the residents themselves, more involved in the decision-making process here in town?
I have spoke to this person about running for writing in for the budget committee position that is
That
open,
you happen to know is now
that
available.
I happen to know. Well, there's a lack of volunteerism in the world today. I've been master of Masonic lodges 6 times on building trusts and building funds, and I've been on the budget committee for 6 years, board of directors at a gun club for, quite a while. And the grand total of all that income is 0. But in my opinion, 95% of the people do 95% of the work, while the other 95% complain. And if you look at the ballot this year, you'll see it. There are a lot of positions open that not a single person took out an application to run.
Right.
There's a 3-year position on the budget committee that nobody's running for, and there's a 1-year position that nobody is running for. And I don't know. It's not.
So will those just stay vacant until the next election?
There'll be appointments, or if people do write-ins, they'll be filled as well as I'm assuming all the other ones, because there are roles that need to be filled.
Right.
Town management,
And that's one of the functions of the select board, right? Is to make
It
sure all
is.
those committees are full and operating at full steam.
I would assume so. I think the budget committee, I know the budget committee appoints their own vacancy. I can't remember if we need select board approval. We've done it in the past.
When you were considering running, you must have had a tick list. There are certain duties that the select board together have and that each individual on it has. Can you tell us what's on that list?
I've watched all the meetings for the past few years. They meet with the various departments. They send out, request their new budget by the end of the year, which for a bunch of departments didn't come in by the end of the year. It was March before all the budgets were finally received from some departments. And that's where I say they're missing the small stuff. I mean, that's important business. And I know they're liaisons to every department in town from the select board. And I'm more than willing to be on any.
And that is a very important link, I think.
I do too. It was like I mentioned with the gun club. If you don't know that something isn't working, because nobody says anything. If you talk to them,
the boards and committees don't feel like they're in it. all by themselves.
Yeah.
They've got the support of the select board.
Yep, I would agree.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to make a point of while you have the time? You can make a closing statement of some nature.
No, I guess my closing statement would be that I hope that I've represented the town well in the budget committee over the past 6 years, and I would love your vote and be given the opportunity to represent the citizenry as a select board member. If you feel I've done a good job, I would appreciate your vote. I promise to keep everything open, honest, transparent, and do it effectively and efficiently to keep this town affordable for the citizens that live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron McKinnon. Just a reminder that the town election is going to be held in the MPR here in the town office building. It is Tuesday, May 12th, and the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We hope you will all exert and exercise your privilege and your right to cast a vote for the select board, the school board, and some of the other things that are available and up for election this year. 2 days after that, the town meeting will be held on Thursday, May 14th. That starts at 6 p.m. It's also in the MPR. And I'd like to thank you all for watching this edition of Politics in Chester. Tune in again to meet the other candidates for select board and those for the ballot of school board as well. These programs can be seen as scheduled on Chester Public Access Community Television, Comcast Channel 22, or anytime on demand on the PACT website, which is accessible through the Chestertown website. For Carl Knutson and Public Access Community Television here in Chester, I'm Joe Biedrzycki. Thanks for watching.